What's up, guys? Welcome to the Butcher Shop Show. Today I got some more updates on the cattle market. I've been keeping a close eye on it. For anyone that doesn't know, a lot of tariffs were lifted off of imported beef recently, or they're going to be lifted, and the U.S.-Mexico border is about to reopen, and they're going to allow cattle to cross the border from Mexico back into the U.S. So there's a big debate right now in the meat industry, in the cattle industry, on whether this is a good idea or a bad idea. There's a bunch of different opinions, especially with how the stock market of the beef industry, how it's going to happen, if it's going to be a crash, if it's going to be just a dip. There's the argument also that the government's kind of doing this on purpose to make it easier for people to reinvest into the cattle market. So maybe this will be like a rebirth of the cattle industry. Hopefully, that's my hope. That would be amazing. The herd in America, the cattle industry in America is suffering more than it ever has suffered before. We do not have enough beef to sustain our country. The USA is eating more beef than it ever has before. At the same time, the USA has the least amount of cows and the least amount of farmers and ranchers that it ever has before. So we're definitely in a situation as far as the beef industry, and everyone's trying to figure it out. But with this recent tariff and taxes situation, and them opening up the southern border again to allow cattle to cross in, there's just a huge debate going on. And for anyone that doesn't know about it yet, I would suggest that you research it. It's definitely going to have an impact on this country as far as beef is concerned. So let's get into the clip.
The cost of beef is rising and the amount of Tennessee farmland is shrinking as part of a broader nationwide trend. President Trump's decision to lower beef tariffs has done little to ease the concerns of farmers.
The cattle market dropped. It as a smaller operation, with 50 mama cows plus, calves running around, it really affects us.
Tristan Stallsworth is a fifth-generation farmer. He's just one East Tennessean impacted by last Friday's announcement. The Knoxville Livestock Center says foreign suppliers may be unable to meet American demand.
What country is going, number one, has the 300,000 metric tons of beef available, and what country is going to sell that at a 25% discount? So where's that going to come from? And is it actually going to happen?
Dale Parker says the president's decision to reduce tariffs has frustrated cattle farmers.
We're bringing in foreign product, and so that is frustrating, but it's also one of those realities. The demand is high, and there's still
Farmer and rancher Stephen McMee Jr. joins me now. All right, Stephen, thanks for being on the show. You're a cattle farmer. Do you think that we should be importing cheaper government-subsidized ground beef at your expense?
This is not an easy answer because you can't snap your fingers and regrow the herd overnight in America. Land prices are at an all-time high, property taxes all-time high, inputs all-time high. So it's extremely hard to grow the herd here in the United States, but it certainly does not help the American farmers and ranchers whenever we're importing beef from foreign countries, that's for sure.
Will it get the price down of ground beef at all?
You might see a temporary suppression of pricing, but I don't think it's really going to do much. And I also think that what this is going to bring is these retailers and the consolidation. We talk about the big four meat packers, them raising the prices or keeping that margin for themselves rather than seeing the relief passed on to customers.
All right. Here's another one for you. The U.S. is going to reopen the southern border to livestock from Mexico next week. The screwworm outbreak originally shut that border down. So my question is the screwworm scare over?
I don't think it's over yet. I think that we have done quite a bit of research on it. We've implemented some problem solutions, but I still think we are in the thick of it. And I don't think importing beef across the border is the greatest idea especially when we're dealing with record low inventories across the United States that could then become threatened with screwworm.
But that's another major issue that's come up as far as the cows coming from Mexico. they closed the Mexico border to cattle originally. The USDA shut it down because of the screwworm outbreak. And screwworms, they're the larva of a particular type of fly. And those flies will land on the beef, and they'll put their larva into the hide of the beef. So those little screwworms, those little larvae, like burrow into the side of the beef and basically live in there until they hatch, and then they turn into a fly. So they're like a little burrowing, like, worm that burrows into the side of the beef, right through the hair and through the hide. That's why the USDA originally shut it down. So to bring cattle back after an outbreak like that, it threatens the U.S. herd even more. Whether it's a good idea or not, I mean, who am I to say, right? I'm just a butcher. I try to do my best research, but I'm definitely not educated enough to make a yes or no definitive answer on that. But it just seems risky having cattle come from Mexico again that might be full of screwworms, because once they hatch, if those flies get here and populate like crazy, now the small herd that the USA already has might have a screwworm outbreak, which now we have to kill off a lot of the herd, and we already have a small herd, so that could lead to a major problem if something like that were to happen. But that's all hypothetical, right? But that's definitely one of the reasons a lot of the ranchers don't want the Mexico border opened. We already don't have enough cattle, and the screwworms might take what we got. So I could definitely understand that argument.
And historic cattle shortage driving beef prices higher. Data from the Agriculture Department showing the U.S. entered this year with 8 million fewer cattle than in 2019. Ground beef prices up over 10% year over year. Joining me now, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Secretary, thank you so much for being here this morning. Just want to start by asking you what the Department of Agriculture is doing to bring beef prices down for Americans.
Well, first of all, Jackie, it's so great to be on with you again. Thank you so much for having me. Listen, what we are facing in America today is the direct result of a war on cattle by the previous administration. Frankly, a war on agriculture and a war on farming in general. When you've got a prior administration that is basically blaming cattle for their crazy climate agenda, then you have a real problem. And you combine that with people are eating more beef today than ever before, which is actually really good news.
Well, local farmers are reacting as President Donald Trump looks to lower beef prices.
What did he say?
He wants to temporarily get rid of tariffs on millions of pounds of ground beef imports, looking to sell 25% below market prices. Now, those at Sandhill Family Farm over in McLeod say this is a stab in the back. Valley News Team's Sydney Zatz brings us our story.
The president's temporary order puts the pause on tariffs for 90 days. Darren Sagvold of Sandhills Family Farm says futures markets used to move a few cents a month. Now it's dollars a month.
August futures in feeder cattle have dropped like $1.80. And on a 950-pound steer, that's $170. And you do that over a few hundred head, and that's serious money.
He says a lot of factors play into the economy, including the ongoing drought conditions.
In reality, it might be a situation if you're a cow-calf guy and you've got these calves that normally you would take them and you would feed them out. Yep. And you've always done that.
Yep.
The market could give you an opportunity where you could turn around and sell all your calves.
Yep.
And turn around and buy a different sized feeder at a discount.
Yep.
And instead feed those and make more money than if you fed your own.
Correct.
Is that
It's 100% correct. And a lot of people talk about sell-by marketing in the context of like buying and selling and trading stockers. And I actually like it best in the cow-calf or even in sheep in a breeding enterprise. And one of the reasons for that is my production cost is fixed, right? It costs me, let's say, $700 a year to keep a cow. I know that I can grow a calf for $700 a year. If I can keep a heifer calf and add $700 to her and then see a big spread between that and a pregnant cow, I can make another pregnant cow. So we spend a lot of time often selling like a prime of her life middle-aged cow. Right now that would be like $4,500. Okay. I can buy my own or buy someone else's heifer for, let's say, $2,000, $2,200, add the $700 to that. I've got over $1,000 spread between those.
Man, the more I research this, the harder and harder my decision on what side I want to pick is to make. It's a hard decision to make because on one hand, you got all the ranchers who are loving the beef market right now because prices are so high, right? They've never done this well ever, and for a long time they weren't allowed to do well. So this has been a long time coming. It's kind of owed to them. All the cattle ranchers and farmers in the U.S. They've had a killer year and a half, the past year and a half. So, and they don't want to see that end. So I can understand why they'd be upset with importing cheap beef. On the other hand, from the consumer aspect, the prices are so high that nobody can afford to eat beef anymore. And the groceries are expensive. So importing all this beef will be good for the consumers. You'll go to the grocery store and ground beef will be cheaper. That's the whole reason, the idea of why this is happening. I believe anyway. I believe that's why President Trump is doing this and allowing this to happen, because he's trying to get beef prices down for the everyday American, which makes sense. At the same time, it is destroying the good, sweet market that the ranchers are enjoying right now. So it's kind of like, who do you pick? We need to find a happy median. We need to find a way that the ranchers can be successful, they can make money, while at the same time the grocery stores are not overpriced. And that's easy to say, right? It's so hard to do. Hopefully we'll figure this out. But man, the more I keep watching these clips, the harder and harder it is to pick a side, because it's like, who do you fight for? We're all Americans, the consumers and the ranchers. Like, we should all be getting along. But right now, it's this situation's kind of dividing us a little bit.
Totally disagree. The market isn't going to crash. Not enough cattle, and screw worm is going to keep it high. My family's been doing this for 100 years and so seen almost everything. I understand you don't believe that the cattle market's going to crash, but the reality is that markets go up and they go down. And generally they go down about as much as they go up. Meaning, with every high, there is a low. If your family's been doing this for 100 years, you should know that when cattle go up, they go up sharply. When they go down sharply. We don't see a nice little landing. You're living on emotion. You're too excited about these high prices. You have to be mindful that always the markets generally return back to the average. We're going to return to a new state at some point. Whether it happens in 26, don't know. Might happen in 27. You're living on a short-term mindset of profit. You're not paying attention to your equity. You can be profitable and you can have no equity.
What do you think is going to happen to the cattle market, where they have released this 300,000 metric ton of ground beef? What do you think it's going to do to the price? Is it going to stay the same? Is it going to dip down a little bit? Is the market going to tank? What's going to happen? What are your thoughts on it? I think it's going to happen. I don't think much, if anything's going to happen. I think there will be a dip in the market, but I don't think it will be a very long dip. But I think it will be long enough for investors to invest back into the market at a lower price. I think it's basically, in a nutshell, a market manipulation to make the price go down enough to where people that are big to-dos can reinvest or invest more money and make tens of millions of dollars. That's all I think it is.
Guys, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Your opinion on the current beef market, what they should do, what needs to happen. Anything and everything. I am actively researching this as we speak, so I'm interested in everybody's opinion, and maybe one of you out there has the solution. I would love to see what kind of discussion takes place over this topic. It interests me a lot, obviously. I am a butcher, so I am part of the beef and meat industry, and it's just something that I'm actively looking at right now, because it's definitely going to have an effect on our country. So huge shout out to all the new subscribers. I can't believe how many new subscribers that I've received in the past couple days. Absolutely grateful to you guys forever. I'll have to think of something cool for all the subscribers eventually, like a giveaway or something like that. Ooh, maybe a knife giveaway. That's kind of what I've been thinking. I am a butcher after all, so maybe someone will get a nice new knife. But anyways, my name is AJ. This is the Butcher Shop Show. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.